Okay, we'll get started here, and in this segment we're going to be visiting with Todd Horwitz in just a moment. First, the futures market. We stop in the corn first, and the March corn is up a half, still hanging on to a gain here, 382.5. Although we are off of what we were at earlier. We got as high as 384 3/4. May is up 1 1/4. The July is up 1 3/4. In the soybeans, January up 1, March up 3/4. May up 1 1/4, 901.5. Chicago wheat down 7.5 for March, 527 3/4. The July is down 6. Kansas City wheat for March down 1 3/4. The July down 2 1/4. But I want to turn our attention now to Todd Horwitz. He's with Bubba Trading, and he joins us now. First of all, Todd, kind of another tough day in the financial market here. I'd like to take just a moment here and have you explain to our audience as what's going on behind this, because I was reading some of your comments earlier, and one of the things that you mentioned was, could this be the start of maybe topping out this Dow and this NASDAQ and this financial market, which could make some of that money come back over here to the commodities?
And John, I think you're right. Good morning. You know, look, markets are interesting, and of course, they never announced their overall intentions. But suddenly, we've gone from no volume and light volatility to heavy volume and heavy volatility, and suddenly we're starting to see a little bit of panic in the equities. Now, listen, granted, we're still 3 to 4% from the all-time high, but at the end of the day, they're now. You can see by the way that gold is reacting, by the way that the VIX index is reacting. And the bond markets are reacting. They're all scorching higher, which is saying that there's some fear out there. Now, when there is fear and when we finally see an equity sell-off, which we will, and again, this may be it or may not be the start of it, but when we do see it, that money is going to be searching for a home to go, and it will go into the grain markets. Now, they're blaming this action on trade and things that President Trump said this morning. However, if that's the case, the grains are holding up remarkably well when you look at the picture of corn and soybeans, which would be the two major products affected, and they're both higher with the Dow lower. So again, we don't really look at the news part. We look at the price action. In the last couple of days in corn, we've had some relatively good price action, which means that some of that money might be starting to flow over now, which is a very healthy thing for grain markets overall, which should be working their way higher anyways.
Well, you make a good point here also, because the hog market is higher today, and of course that's directly related to trade with China, or maybe the lack of also.
100%, and that's what we look at. So again, that's why I try to explain to everybody that it's really the price action that matters, not the overall news, because the news has a way of finding itself into price long before you ever really hear the news. So what we're seeing here is some solid support in the grain market, some solid support in hogs, and that's a much better sign than we've seen recently. So there's some signs for some optimism here that not only obviously the equities are selling off, which is never great for everybody, but it is selling off, which could bring some new money. Plus the fact that corn and soybeans are starting to hold up after really some pretty nasty action for the last couple of weeks.
Todd, this dollar is just a little bit weaker here today, too. Can we take any cues from that?
Not really, John. I think that that's more of a surprise to me, and I think that, again, this goes back to, they talk about the currency manipulation with China, which, again, to me is a bunch of BS, because all major economies do some currency manipulation. And what happened is the Fed did their move to try to bring our dollar down, and of course every other nation said, okay, well, we're going to lower our rates and bring our dollars even lower, which again makes the dollar stronger. And of course, I'm surprised the dollar is actually not higher today, though, because normally the dollar would be considered a fear asset, money much as bonds and gold is. And it's kind of surprising that it is not spiking higher along with those products today.
Some really odd movements here today. Well, Todd, thank you very much. All the best to you this afternoon. And thanks very much for making sense of all of this and explaining these moves here today. Stay with us. We'll be back with more in just a moment here on the Market Day Report.